And what's up, everybody? This is None Defense, host of this YouTube channel, and of course co-leader of the team, Still Unboomable. And this is an episode that I am dedicating to my beautiful lady, wonderful wife, Miss Boom Bitch Angie herself. Going back through the episodes, I don't talk about her enough, but she is such a clutch part of our team in so many ways. A lot of background stuff, a lot of this stuff that you don't even know about, but it happens, and it's pivotal. And we're going to talk about all of that today because it needs to just be talked about. So this is her base. This is a layout that where did she get this? She says she's been seeing it a lot from the top players. So this is kind of the layout she's going with. She's not actively pushing towards any particular goal. She's just trying to get her stuff maxed out, and all of that. So as we go and we talk about Angee today, and I am going to be doing these raids on Blueberry. So I'm not going to be talking about the raids nearly as much as I'm going to be talking about the lady and what she does for the team since the beginning. So I'm just going to talk about that because it's kind of crazy what she does. So here we go. Wow. Where did it all start? It all started, mine and her relationship began about 4 years ago. She's probably going to punch me because I don't know the exact math, but yeah. Anyway, so I moved to New Hampshire. I was just coming out of a divorce and moved to New Hampshire because my children had moved to New Jersey to be with their mother, right? And in doing so, I gotta come out of this truck pump there. I needed to get a job. So when I first moved to New Hampshire, I walked around and started looking for work. I had a car, but I parked at the end of a block. However, when I'm looking for work, what I do is I just park somewhere and go in everywhere and find a freaking job, man. Anyway, but so I did that, working towards I had plenty of experience in the restaurant industry, so I applied at a little mom and pop restaurant that was looking for help, right? And it was a decent little restaurant, for what it was, just a little small mom and pop place. And they were just looking for a dishwasher, a nighttime dishwasher, and somebody to kind of help on the closing crew. And I'm like, okay, cool. So, whatever. I just got here. I need a job. It's a job. I'll find something better later. And, and it turned out I did find something better later. But it turned out it was right there, and that's kind of crazy. So I get the job. I start, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell the whole story, the dirty bits and all. Not too dirty, but Angee comes to the restaurant, and she was already an employee there. And in fact, it gets weirder because she was, in fact, the daughter-in-law of the owner, meaning the owner of the restaurant. To keep names safe, we're going to call her. I need a good name. We're going to call her Jane. The owner, Jane, had a son, and her son's name was Thompson. Okay, all right, here we go. So Jane, the owner of the restaurant, and her son Thompson. Here we go. It's gonna be a fun story to tell, and I'm telling it all. So anyway. Angee and Thompson, when they first met, a couple years before I entered the picture, she had just come out of a pretty abusive relationship, and honestly, she just needed somebody that would just claim her, at that point. It's just anybody that would be willing to claim her. That's just where she was in terms of her self-esteem. You know what I mean? When a woman gets down on herself and she just believes she just deserves whatever shit life throws at her, she was kind of at that point in a depressive state, doing her best to just make it. trying really hard. And she met this guy, Thompson. And, they were together for a couple years and became live-ins and all of that stuff. And he was, had some mental issues and was heavily on a lot of medications for them. And as long as he was on his medications, for the most part, he was tolerable. He was a tolerable person by all descriptions. By all accounts, he was a tolerable person when, properly medicated. So no judgments on mental disorders or anything like that. There are people who legitimately have problems and need medication, and he was one of those people. And then, for whatever reason, and she'll tell you as much herself, she got it in her head that she needed to be married to this guy. Well, whether it was a good idea or a bad idea, I wasn't around to stop her, so, certainly I wouldn't have known anything about it. But the point is, they spent about a year planning this beautiful, perfect, awesome wedding, and, from what I hear, that it was, in fact, a really beautiful, awesome, perfect, wonderful, fancy wedding. Every wedding that a lady would want, right? So cool. Hey, you got your fancy wedding. Good job. You earned it. You deserve it. Life is good, right? Well, and then for whatever reason, Thompson decided now would be a great time to stop taking his medications. And that wasn't a good idea, as it turned out. And he then became a really, really, really bad person. Just a really intolerable, insufferable. Nobody should have to tolerate the kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Now, here's the thing. They got married and it was a terrible attack. They got married about a week before, the week before I got the job at the restaurant. They had just got married, okay? So, when she and I first met each other, she was just fresh off this marriage, and I was just fresh off this divorce. And I was just being honest, just telling you about where I was. I was honestly at a place where I certainly wasn't ready to date, wasn't ready to be in a relationship, but I was definitely looking for some female attention, okay? So that's just where I was. Now, because Angee was married, it was it was really easy for us to work together, because just like, she's just got married, so she's gonna be in honeymoon mode for the next year and a half. Anyway, and that actually was beneficial, because that meant she immediately was off of my sexual radar, so to speak, right? So it's like, all right, cool. I'm going to just show some previous attacks while we're loading, and I'm just chatting. We'll just show them all. So anyway, so as how do I put this? So as our friendship evolved and working relationship evolved, it was good. It was beneficial, because we didn't have any of the sexual tension or anything like that, because she was just off my radar. So while she and I were working together early on, and spending time together through our working relationship, because it was a small restaurant, it was very confined quarters, and we were working on it. Had a lot of busy catering work, and we were spending literally 15 hours a day at this restaurant sometimes, and and we enjoyed it. We actually enjoyed the work, and we enjoyed what we were doing, and it was fun feeding 200 people at an event, and we're like, yeah, that was great. People enjoyed our meals, so we enjoyed the team work that she and I put together as a team, team dynamo cooking sensation that we were. So and unbeknownst to me, he just recently married, talking about Thompson, he had stopped taking his medications. Well, about that same time that the owner of the restaurant, Jane, who is Thompson's mother, got really, really sick with her own personal health issues. So all of a sudden, it was just me and Angee at the restaurant. So for months we're working together, and it's just the two of us, nobody else. And we're spending, hours, 15, 16, 17 hours a day. We're going home, going to sleep, coming back, saying good morning, and back to work. Here we go. Let's start all over again. So we were working in this atmosphere together, side by side, for months, right? And I didn't want to share that. So as we're getting to know each other better and all that, her marriage, unbeknownst to me for quite some time, is falling apart because Thompson is not taking his proper medications and becoming just an intolerable, insufferable human being. And before you know it, as I was out dating around and finding different women and all that, I was like, and I found one lady that I shacked up with and all that. It's like, just being honest, like, as our friendship grew and I became more and more aware of just how bad her marriage was becoming, unfortunately, because nobody should have to go through that. I couldn't help think, like, man, I'm out dating around and looking for women and whatever, because I certainly didn't want to be alone while I wasn't in a rush to get married again. I certainly didn't want to be alone, and before you know it, I just couldn't help start thinking, as I'm out dating all these different women, I couldn't help think, like, man, why can't they be a little more like Angee? Like, if Angee was these women, like, I could probably see myself staying with them, but they're not Angee, they're these women, and not that they're not good people in their own way, but they're just not clicking with me on the long term. We're talking about, the more of the basic sins of the flesh type needs are being met, but not much when you're talking about on the spiritual level, and where it really counts. Talking about an actual connection between a human being, a man and a woman, or a man and a man, woman and a woman, whatever. Love is love, man. We're not here to judge. So the point is, you kind of see where this is going. As their marriage falls apart, I start kind of seeing that, if I just kind of bide my time and just wait it out, they're eventually gonna get divorced. So that's kind of what happened. I just like, all right, I'm just gonna stop dating around, because it was becoming more and more apparent, though our relationship hadn't started, it was becoming more and more apparent. Angee was getting jealous of the women that I was dating, and she was getting less and less eager to go home to her, poor husband situation, and our relationship just started. And one day we just kind of looked at each other and knew that her and Thompson, it was only a matter of time, and once her and Thompson were done, then it was going to be me and her. And that's how we got together. And sure enough, like about a month later, after we just kind of figured it out, I was like, wow, like, Thompson's a douche and we're in love with each other. That's just kind of how it was. And then, completely unconnected to anything else, and like completely by surprise, again, just to show the emotional and mental imbalance this man Thompson had to deal with. He just left. He just she came home, and while they were certainly having issues, that nobody had thought that they had reached that level, but she came home and he was gone. It was like, what? Like, okay. So, and then they just went ahead and filed a Quickie divorce. Now, it turns out there are benefits in the situation for having mental issues, in that you can file for a Quickie divorce, and it's like free, it's like covered. So that was kind of cool. So they were divorced in like no time, compared to people who I know whose divorces, mine included, who dragged on for a while. I was really surprised, like, wow, that's it, huh? Like, that was it. And then she moved in with me, and it was really awkward because we were still working at the restaurant that Jane owned, and That was pretty awkward. But Jane was having issues of her own, and not just health issues, but like paranoia issues. For some reason, she thought that like we were trying to steal her restaurant from her, and it was really like strange, like almost, you know, it was getting close to Jerry Springer levels of ridiculous, you know, and I was starting to get to that point where it's like, okay, it's definitely time to get the fuck out of here. But then she closed the restaurant on us. Like, it was like, okay. Like, she showed up and is like, okay, today's Wednesday's the last day, happy Thanksgiving. You know, like, we'll be closed on Thanksgiving and forever. And we're like, what? So it was just stupid. The whole thing, everything was just stupid. You know, now, so as far as, so our days at the restaurant were done. You know, now we had to figure out what else to do. And we got a job. She got a job first at a little, what was it? A delivery place. She got a little job at a retail place, but it was pretty self-evident that wasn't going to be a good fit. But she got a job at a delivery place, and she eventually could put in a good name for me, good word for me, and got me a job, and that was pretty easy. Now, how our Boom Beach life started was somewhere after the restaurant. Okay. Let's see, well, I'm going to tell the whole story. So after the restaurant, we decided to buy a thrift store. And we did. We bought a thrift store. And, you know, we didn't have a lot of money, but we were able to come up with enough. And it just, you know, and it wasn't very expensive. I'm not putting numbers out there, but we're not talking about hundreds of thousands. We're talking about, it was like, you know, less than 15,000. And it was a very small little store, but based on the numbers that we had, it would have, it was worth it. It was a good deal. Now, unbeknownst to us at the time, you know, and it's on us, but the lady who had sold it to us, she had given us phony numbers. So what can you do? She had just totally faked her numbers. So we bought on that. So we got screwed there, you know. Boo fucking who, it happens. And so that didn't work out so well. Just the place did not turn the kind of numbers that it was supposed to. There was just a small, you know, little area of town that, you know, there was a reason it was dying. So, you know, it was our foolish thinking we believed in our ability to do great things, and so much that we really thought we could turn that around. And for what it was, we gave a really honest go at it. Like, we did put some really good numbers up on certain days, but then the winter came, and then once the winter came and people stopped coming, like, it just really it really put us in a bind. And we lasted just a little over a year. And you know, it was kind of like we were approaching a financial disaster, so we had to get out before it became a financial disaster. You know, it was like, let's just get out while we're broke, and, you know, and not in debt. You know, because being broke sucks, but you can live with being broke. But being in debt, that was going to put us in a spot. So so there you go. So we got out of the store at broke before we got major into debt. Now, somewhere in there, as I was in the months of sitting there at the thrift store with no customers during the winter months, somewhere in there I started playing Boom Beach, because I'm just sitting there with nothing fucking to do. Like, days would go by and nobody walked in. So, and that's how it started. When I first got an account, and then Angee was like, what the heck are you doing? And at this point, None Defense, you know, he was ahead, you know, he had been playing for a while. So, and then Angee was like, what is this? And I explained it to her and showed it to her, and she decided to get involved. And once she got involved, at first she hated it. She freaking hated it. Like, she really didn't like it. She really didn't. I think, you know, again, she always openly admit that she was not a fan of the game. I'm just kind of stalling and letting the troops get some more troops on the boats. But and for me, as you know, I've always been pretty vocal and honest about. I always enjoyed the team part, the team aspect of it, way more than the or really any of the other aspects of it. I really like just the team play dynamics. We're going to beat this guy. So I'm going to just put a W here. And so once I got her introduced to the task force, at this point I had already had like just a couple of accounts, because I created an account on my son's phone. Matthew, the boy, Dragon is his, you know, YouTube name. Dragon. It's his name. Anyway, I created an account on his phone just to try it out, because let me just try it out on his phone, and he played it a little bit, and I liked it enough, so I downloaded it on my phone, and that was None Defense. And when None Defense got kind of going, then I created another account, and that was Bartholomew, if memory serves. The original account was Big Richard, and that was the account that I created on Matthew's phone, Dragon's phone. It's confusing. The point is, I had a couple or 2 or 3 accounts when Angee got involved, and once Angee got involved, and she started kind of seeing the whole team play, at first she really didn't like it, and I'll tell you why she didn't like it. Is because we had so little control of what actually happens. It was just so frustrating in those early days. People were joining the team and they just could not do right. You know, it's like, come on, it's obvious. Anybody with eyeballs can look at the field and see what's supposed to happen, and yet it's not happening. And it was Angee. It was Angee who then asked the question, was like, well, how did you create these other accounts? And I was like, well, you know, you have to have an account on each device. So I've got this device over here, and it has an account, and then, you know, whatever, and this other device has an account. So I had like 3 devices, 3 accounts, right? And Angee was like, you know, I do want this thing to work. Here, and she pulls out like a suitcase of like a bunch of devices that she's collected over a while, and was like, hey, look, here's 3 other Boom Beach compatible devices. So boom, 3 more accounts right there. Don't ask me to name them, just they're there. So, and then she starts kind of eyeballing the garage sale sites, and she's like, ooh, look, here's a device for $10, and like, you know, or here's 2 devices, but all they want is an old iPhone. Well, sweet, I've got an old iPhone, you know. So it was like, and before you know it, we were way down with like literally 14 devices, I think it was. You know, I don't remember, but we had a lot of devices, and everywhere we went, we would have to carry a backpack with all of those devices. And then one day, and that was Angee who, you know, took the time, and she was actively working a whole bunch of accounts with me, you know. You know, we had a little more time to kill at this thrift store, unfortunately, and that, you know, ultimately why we had to close. But anyway, so, how do I say this next part? So, we have all these accounts, and so to do an operation would literally is like, oh, all right, I'm going to pick up this account, so I pick up this device, I pick up the device, do the attack, then we'd say, okay, now silence needs to go. So then we have to find which device has silence on it, and most of the devices were, you know, different, but, you know, enough were similar enough that you were like, wait, was silence on the red one with the black stripe or the black one with the red stripe? Okay, you know, so, and we ran into the problems that way. And then it was Angee who discovered that Android devices have the ability to have multiple accounts on a single device. And once she learned that critical trick, and then figured out how to do it and how to get all those accounts that we had created. And she was the one who got them all loaded onto the pads, and she was the one who put it all together and handed me a pad and said, you can now access every account through this pad. And I was like, ah, thank you, Angie. Once again, she did it. Like, she made it freaking work. And then that's when we became really dangerous as a pair, because then we both had access to all of these accounts. So whenever we had downtime, grab an account, do some upgrades, whatever. Now, as life evolved, real life evolved, our Boom Beach habits evolved with it, but that's just how it was at that point in our life. So by having all the accounts, it was fun for us. And while we're waiting for this last bit to load, I'm going to show you this. So this is a photo that she posted yesterday, last night. Let me get out. Where is it? Was it this one? Hey, this one's this thing up here. I'm gonna Don, you're gonna get some YouTube time, but not this episode, pal. Check this out. So these were, we'll see what she says. Oh, the good old days when we were bigger dicks than we are now. We tracked every move of every player so we could have the team we wanted. And this was all Angie. Like, there is not a single line, mark of ink or anything on this, and I'm sorry that it's turned this way, but on this photo, these were her charts. Like, this was before Boom Beach kept track of how much intel everybody was getting and how much, participation and all that. So these were her charts, like, legit. And she was constantly working on making charts, and she knew if you missed an attack that week and she called you out on it, like, and people would argue and say, no way, I know for a fact that I attacked this week, I attacked the other day, and she's like, no, talk to the chart, pal. So and she kept tracking. These were just some of the examples, the charts as people came and people left. Poor lady, she had to redo these charts so many times. She had to start completely over, but she did because that was what she wanted. We wanted that kind of control of the team. Now, not because we wanted to be dickheads, but we knew what kind of team we wanted to be. We wanted a team of easygoing, relaxed freestylers, okay, but who operate at a high level of team tactics. That's what we wanted. We wanted high level, relaxed atmosphere. That's what we wanted. And it wasn't high level meaning everybody strong, meaning we're everybody on the same page. And that's what we worked so hard to build towards. And it was through being able to keep track of stuff like this, because it all started, our number one thing well, we, like a lot of teams starting out, had some kind of intel requirement. We eventually got rid of that. Had to. Because it wasn't working, because it wasn't getting us through operations. It was like, okay, great, we have all these guys who are getting all this intel, and that's beautiful, that's wonderful, thank you for the intel, guys, but why aren't you attacking? Or if you are attacking, how come you're attacking so fucking poorly? And again, we don't need everybody to be experts, but geez, man, like, really? What? So that's how we ended up with all these freaking accounts, because that allowed for us to have the control. So yeah, we may not be getting tons of intel on all the accounts compared to, say, like an account that gets just attention. I've already lost to this guy, haven't I? Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's okay, we're gonna beat him this time. What's over here? Yeah, so anyway, so that was kind of just the benefit. And yeah, in the early days we were running, we had all 26 attack. We talk about it all the time. Everybody's heard it. It was like, wow, 26 accounts. Yes, and they were all on the team at one time. There was a point when every single one of them were on the team. And, it was kind of cool. It was kind of crazy. I think what I liked most about it at the time was knowing what am I trying to say? I'm losing again. Yeah, okay, clearly I can't beat this guy. It's certainly not that with that tactic. One of the things about controlling half the team at the time was, we were rolling through operations because I was able to do so much setup, and this was before this was way before we learned team tactics, but way before we learned Zuka tactics from Nick. But just running standard hookah team tactics, we were able to do more than what the number said. When the little thing said, this operation is hard, or this operation is easy, or this operation is impossible. Like, we were beating the normals or the hards, and we were beating them convincingly. But every now and then we would get our asses kicked, and my low levels with me running, just kind of establishing attacks could only do so much. As far back to Angie, talking about when she first started the game, she was behind none defense. Like, she was totally behind none defense. Completely, right? Just completely behind. Like, none was in level 30, she was level nothing. And, alright, I'm going to go ahead and just upgrade this and wrap this video up. But now, she has, not only caught up to none defense, she has passed none defense, crushing none defense. Like, so, Angie's a beast. Last week she got, I think it was 103 intel. And now I know a lot of you guys, with the top levels are like, oh, well, that's easy, I do that in my sleep. Well, whatever, man, but it's 100 freaking intel, and I don't get 100 intel, not even combined. Sure, I could, but I don't. She did. Good job, Angie. Good job, Angie. Thank you so much for that. So this was Angie's episode. I am going to wrap it up because I know I did a full reload earlier, so I don't want to have to do another one because that means I will have wasted 40 minutes of your time while waiting for troops, and that's just way too much. Way too much. So I'm going to wrap it up. But I do want to thank all of you so much for taking time out of your day to hang out with us and be goofy with us. And I want to thank my lovely lady, so much, just since the beginning, not just for the team, but for life, man. Like, she's the reason we were able to get out here to Washington State. She's the reason I'm able to, be a terrible house husband as a caretaker for Jim, while she's out doing stuff. And she's my reason. Like, I mean, I love my children, and I love seeing them and hanging out with them and all that, but, they're kind of getting older now, and they're past the stage where, aside from our, just some, your more basic contact via text and Skype, they're not looking for dad at this point, like, they're good, they're in a good situation, and they know it, they got it good, so they're not trying to rock the boat. So, Angie's all I got, and I just when I imagine my life, the rest of it, and as much as I'm in the moment and try not to think too far ahead kind of guy, and I've always been that way, with my previous wife, I never thought about the future so much. It just kind of rolled with the moment. But with Angie, I do think about the future, and regardless of whatever it brings and wherever we end up, I know that she's going to be with me. And with the two of us somehow back, working together, either when we're side by side or working together separately by me, again, being a terrible house husband and caretaker of Jim, and while she's out earning the income. Either way, we're going to make it, because that's what we've done, that's what we'll continue to do. So, just for anytime anybody gives none defense any credit for anything that's ever happened with Still Unboomable, please remember that, she made it work. She made it work and continues to make it work. If something's happening in chat that I'm not aware of, she'll spot it and let me know that it needs to be addressed. So she's mine, and as a result, she's everybody's. And I wish, because she doesn't get the opportunities to do these videos, I wish that she could be, perceived as important to the team as she is, but she is critical to me, guys. So if you appreciate me, you got to appreciate what Angie does, because I can't do any of this shit without her, pure and simple. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up again. So friends, please remember that we are still unboomable, and as always, please be safe. Thank you so much. And I love you, Angie. And no, we're not having problems. This is kind of like a little surprise episode. She's going to check in and be like, oh, and so she'll love it. Anyway, all right, thanks, guys. Bye.